this is us now?
This is it. We're down to
Jay's
five.
out of
We've
town.
had 2 resignations. And city council voted at the city council meeting to accept those resignations, so we're down to 5. Which means a quorum of 3.
Us 3, Jay and
Jay and Tom.
Tom. And where's
Tom's in Europe. So,
Tom's in Europe?
I'm sorry?
You're live.
I'm live now. Okay, all right. It is, 5:01 on October 22nd, and I call this meeting of the CRCRC to order. We'll take roll call starting here.
Brian Ryder.
Okay, Dave Bench.
Duke Garwood.
Very good, all right. We'll move on to, is there anybody who signed up to speak? Public speaker? No public comments, all right, moving right along. Let's get to the consent agenda. Everyone's had a chance to review the item on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
The minutes.
Yes, sir.
There were a couple of typos that I've given.
All right, oh, you
to-
have,
I've already.
all
I will
right.
not burden you with having to listen to them. It's just
That's perfectly fine. We
Shall
could
we-
get a motion such that the minutes as amended by suggestion by Brian Ryder would pass. Would that be sufficient? Can we do that?
I will so move.
Okay. And I'll second that, and
I wasn't here, so I'm fine to approve them.
okay, very good. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
I
Ayes
trust
have it,
Joe.
no nays. Moving along, all right, so we have the discussion, let's see, and possible action on emails and letters to the CRC. This is in the regular agenda. This is the only thing that this is the follow-up letter that had, that I had written in response to a letter that Ms. Wendy Huntley had sent to me concerning about concerns that she had with some of the things that happened at CRC and my involvement with the upcoming forum, and which has now happened, and some other things, and I responded to her notes and just she had asked that they be made public. So as a matter of public record, my response is this document, and maybe you've had a chance to look at it, and if not, I don't really have anything to say about it other than it exists. Does anybody have any questions or curiosity about it?
No.
Okay. All right. You good, Brian?
Yes, I have read it, and I don't have any comment about it at this
Okay.
point.
Very good. Then we'll just move along to regular agenda item number 4. Discussion and possible action on amending the recommendation for drainage and impervious cover. At the last CRCRC meeting, nearly a month ago, councilperson Sarah Hudson had attended and had some comments with regard to the draft, Brian's draft on drainage and impervious cover and FAR. Her comments, actually, some of them were spot on because there are a couple of typos that really need to be fixed in the document. But I promised her during that meeting that she and I could get together and try to figure out what it is she's expecting this group to come up with. And we did. We met, and she's been a crusader for drainage for years and years, ever since the beginning, whenever she first got onto city council. And it was through her doing that the drainage ordinance, such as it is today, is in place, and the DCM that follows with it. But she recognizes that it's probably not doing as much as anybody wanted it to do, and that maybe more work needs to be done. And she was hoping that the CRCRC would kind of dig into it. My feeling is that the whole idea of drainage and impervious cover is at least as big an item as building height. And if we felt like we wanted to spend another year arguing about drainage and impervious cover, well, I guess we could keep the CRCRC going. But what I thought...
That would take substantial, some substantial engineering expertise that we'd have to hire to educate us all on the details of that.
All of that. And, you know, you
As well
have,
as the issues of budgeting and things of that sort, which would be involved. What's our expenditure? We have voted bonds for how much on drainage already?
2 million drainage, 5.3 water.
yeah, right. Well, this actually spawned one of the questions that we inserted into the public forum, or rather the forum, the candidate forum. And that question had to do with, would you support a bond proposal to take care of, once and for all our drainage, including the need for some sort of a rainwater sewer system. And the candidates danced around that a bit, but yeah, I think that of the four candidates, I think that Sarah was the most agreeable to it, and yes, they would do that. Okay, but you gotta have a little more work behind it before you start throwing around bond proposals. So what Sarah and I discussed is the possibility of our recommendation. It does already, but it needs to say something to the effect that we recommend that we recognize that there's an issue here, and it had been identified in the comprehensive plan study, and we heard more about it in the CRCRC survey, and that we, as you've said already, are ill-equipped to really do much about it. We had two experts on our commission here, our committee here, to help us get through the building height and setbacks and things like that. We don't have similar to take care of drainage,
Absolutely correct.
okay? So, I kicked around the idea, we recommend that a new committee be created with the focus only on drainage and impervious cover. And that the CRCRC would then be dismissed to do whatever it does, but the recommendation from this committee would be to create something else, given that different expertise, different individuals need to be involved in this than us. No. And I also volunteered to be on that committee, so, but
You are deeply masochist.
it's
my
real,
friend.
it has to do with just getting things to happen, Brian. That's all. That's all I am. I'm just a facilitator, just to get it to happen. So, if y'all are agreeable to that, I would like to see the draft that you've written reflect that.
All right, I'll dig out the electronic version of this and try to do something and circulate it in the next couple of days.
That would be great. And if you would like me to sit with you and work with this, I'm happy to do that. That's why I sent a note. I don't know, you probably just haven't seen the email, I don't know why. But it's out there, I promise. And I kind of wanted to spend a few minutes explaining the situation like I just did, and, you know, maybe massaging a few words here and there and then getting it. And then we would have it here to present tonight and we could talk about it. But
Okay. Mr. Garwood,
So, my history is, a recollection's not gonna be perfect by any means. I don't go back and grind over old videos, so, but I know we did this. I mean, I've talked about it. I went and talked with a previous city engineer, I'll call him by name, Kenny Watkins. He worked with Blyle at that time. That would have been 3 entities ago, okay? And, you know, that question, I mean, that's an hour conversation with Kenny about, hey, what's our drainage ordinance? Is it doing an adequate job? Is it the best we can do? Yada, yada, yada. And the conclusion from my conversation with him was, you know, hey, the train had already left the station long ago. We're trying to do the best we can to catch up. And it is as good a process as we can kind of invoke. And, you know, his suggestion, and I think it's probably a good one, that where we have existing structures on existing lots that get torn down and we give them benefit for that impervious coverage, right? Is that
What?
fair to say?
what now? We go.
You know, and I kind of agree with him. We ought to probably discontinue that. You scrape it, you got a new lot. It's just like it'd never been built on before.
Yeah, I think, isn't that what we do, Nikki? Unless they want to rebuild on the slab. I mean, we've had several people who've just torn down and rebuilt on the same slab.
Yeah, but I'm
Which I
just
think
saying,
is
hey,
foolish, but-
when they do their calculations, they get to subtract that impervious coverage that they scraped. You know, it's to their benefit that we're treating it from a
Zoom it.
drainage standpoint as if it was still there. And they're getting benefit of that. And I mean, it's really stupid, but it
Well,
was a nice gesture.
Do we have
So-
impervious cover regulations in our
No.
drainage?
No.
I didn't think so. I mean, we do have whatever the TCEQ regulations.
Commercially, I think we do, but not residentially.
Well, when I did a recent addition to my house, we had to do a calculation and put in a holding tank and.
Well, I mean, but that
You had to do a
was,
drainage plan.
the impervious coverage didn't, I mean. if
No,
you
that's not an
had-
impervious
if
cover
you
issue.
had-
It is a drainage issue, though.
Yeah, no, but they would calculate impervious coverage to
They do.
figure out how that figures into the equation of, okay, how much retention, how much filtration you gotta do, et cetera. But you can bump that number up as high as you want. You just have to be able to do the
Yeah,
means
that's
to
the new house that's in the place
remedy.
where the one burned down, I noticed has three huge tanks on that lot?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well,
But,
I mean, again,
yeah, you can,
I know the outcome of intensive impervious coverage, especially if you're at the tail end of a huge catchment area. I got that. But I'm just saying, hey, what we suggested was, I think that we should ask our current engineers how well is the process and how well is the drainage criteria manual working, and get an opinion from them. And if there's some negative feedback, then we go back and look at it. And I love Sarah Hudson. I want her to be happy. And if we need to recommend a new committee, I'm okay with that. I might even suggest, since Kenny just retired 6 weeks ago, maybe we request him to be on that committee.
That's exactly the right answer.
That'd be
And
good.
This fellow's,
He's
a
gonna
civil,
hate me when I say, "Hey, Kenny, I want you to be on this committee."
but he's a civil,
He is. He
okay?
is.
And so that's exactly the
And
road
he's a-
that I thought
he's
that
a-
I wanted to go on, is
he's a
instead of,
Great engineer.
us beating it up, that we get a group of people that do include experts in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and then knock it out. Now, if that happens we're down 2 people. I mean, we could actually keep the CRC going if we wanted to do that. But I sense a certain fatigue setting in, and
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to do that.
Well, I can
could-
just tell you this.
What-
I may
Tom?
not suffer from fatigue, but I'm suffering from political overdose, and how what we've done has become such a, football to be punted around on the field and used as a political sort of hand
I'm
grenade.
afraid that
Do you,
was.
you don't think this thing that we're talking about now is that, though? Do you?
Oh, drainage.
Drainage?
and-
Yeah.
Drainage and
no, I
impervious
just think
cover, no, but
the
the
other
building
stuff.
height. And
building height
every-
certainly is. And
Yeah.
I think that's largely because it's misunderstood, but then that's political. Why should anything be understood?
Well, there's more deeper stuff than that, but it just,
Dick,
it's
while you're dredging
stupidly
memory,
irritating.
I
Yep.
was not on any of the committees other than, I guess, the RCDC back when, but, which had nothing to do with drainage. But I remember that Tom, when he was mayor, or at least one of the 2 times he was mayor, commented to me informally that fixing drainage problems would cost more than buying the houses that are impacted by our drainage problems.
Oh, it'd be a huge number.
And that's what he indicated, and something around 20 million or something like that we would have to put in, plus God only knows what engineering, and then maybe even some eminent domain costs to get easements, et cetera. It seems to me that this has been beaten up already,
Well,
and we just need to resurrect the history and republish it.
what Tom says, and I've heard that story too, is, I think, speculative. You know, it's like, well, if you do this and you do this and you do this, well, then it's gonna cost this much money. And I don't really think that there's been an official pen put to it. You know,
Well, and if there was 8
Yeah.
or 10 years ago, it's no longer relevant as far
That's
as
right.
costs go.
well, regardless, even the size of the project, I don't know.
And it
whether
never rains anymore.
I don't. That's right. I don't know whether it's a Buick or a bread box. You know, it's a thing that if you did a couple of tucks here or there, maybe it's a small problem. Maybe 80% of it can be taken care of with very little effort, or 100% with very much effort. But I don't think anybody's really I don't think, or at least I'm not aware that anybody's taken a really hard look at it to say we should or we shouldn't do it. Studies have been done, but I don't know that anybody's ever come forward and said, but this is what we got to do. This is it. This is the answer. And
I remember seeing some proposals with a huge number, but what was behind them, I don't know, and I was not involved.
right.
And so I do think that we need to recommend that an archaeological excavation of prior studies of drainage and costs be included, and I'll put that in my upgraded.
There you go.
And I mean, again, if there was a study and a recommendation, it could be very focused on a few critical areas, kind of like we're doing with our first two efforts, okay? But if it was comprehensive, I don't think his numbers out of the realm. I mean, it'd be like doing the wastewater project. That was 16 or 17 million.
Yeah.
What?
20 some odd years
20 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. What happens up in where I live. We see whenever there's a big rainstorm, we do see water coming across lawns and things like that. How destructive that is, I'm not sure that it is. I don't know that it is all that destructive. Now, other areas are getting it a lot worse than we get it. And so I would say, well, maybe nothing in my neighborhood, which is pretty broad. Maybe nothing needs to be done there. We just discount that. We say we don't need to do anything with that.
Yeah.
And we focus on the areas that have the worst problems. And maybe that's it. I have no idea what that costs.
No, I agree.
That's all I'm trying.
Well,
I guess my big question is, and it didn't sound like whenever I brought this up at the meeting last time, does this group have the appetite to take this on? And my sense was no.
No, I agree with that.
And second, okay, so what do we do? Okay, what do we do? And that was to talk with Sarah and see what she wanted to see come out the other side. Now, here's the thing, I shouldn't even talk about such, but probably a lot of it's going to be political. If she doesn't get elected, I don't know if I can get anybody to do this.
Yeah.
But what the agreement was is that if we do this, if we start up another committee or we get somebody involved in all this stuff, will she as a council member support it? Will she be the sponsor of it? And she said she would. I said, okay, fine. Well, I got support. I might need money,
Well, I don't.
But okay.
Like I say, I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I just want to bring up the history of what we've discussed before and why we landed on what we did.
Okay.
And the other part of this, I mean, look, this is terrible to just isolate one circumstance, but I'm at the tail end of 22 acres. Okay, that's a lot of catchment area, and 3 detention ponds later, and a lot of real detailed, specific engineering on how all that works. Man, it works like a champ. When I had 6 or 8 inches in my
You're having to deal with detention on the whole 22 acres because you're at the bottom?
yeah. So I'm the next to last lot before it goes into the creek. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I sent a picture with my little weep holes. Again, this is excuse me for saying this, but it looks like 6 guys standing at a urinal peeing away as the water goes through the weeps. I took a picture and sent it to is it Charles Thompson? Rick Thompson.
Rick, yeah.
And said, way to go, man.
Right.
It's awesome.
That was Rick's design then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really sophisticated. It probably cost $250,000 all said and done. But hey, we're good. I'm happy. My neighbor, and all of that said, then on top of that, I'm catching, supposedly 100% rainwater off my roofs.
Yeah.
That doesn't even figure into the equation.
Yeah.
So he's even that much more protected. But I'm just saying, hey, you know what? That's probably in the category of one of your, in the worst cases. And the drainage criteria manual did a great job.
Okay. Do you think that we need to have some sort of an impervious cover limit built into our ordinances?
I've said it a half a dozen times. No.
Okay.
Our criteria manual takes care of it. I mean, you know what? If you want to bump that number up really high, then you need to spend the money to mitigate it. That's what happens.
Right.
I'm in agreement with that. I just don't think in an already built out neighborhood like this, that impervious cover limitations or provisions are really gonna have any meaningful impact on the amount of water that is caught, particularly look out there. How much topsoil is out there to absorb water when
No,
it
there's
rains?
hardly any, yeah. That
None.
was,
And that's gonna flow and it's gonna, if you want to deal with our drainage issue, which is stormwater issue,
yeah.
if you wanna deal with a stormwater issue, the only tools I know to deal with it are detention ponds and formal
Filtration.
drainage structures.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm asking is that this committee, make a recommendation that we wanna kick the can down the road. That's it. That we're not, we have opinions about this, we think that, things, we could actually say that. We think that the DCM actually does a pretty good job, but if there's additional work that needs to be done, it's not for this committee to do it. And that we, recommend that a committee be formed that may even have some budget that can look at this whole issue of drainage and impervious cover more closely than we can. And leave it at that, and we just push that at city council, and it's up to them to figure out whether they wanna do it or not. If they wanna do it, then I'd write a charter and all that, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure that this is the model to do that kind of thing. This panel that we have here, where we're talking, and all that. I think more of it is a kind of like a special study of just some people getting together and figuring out whether or not it makes sense.
Was an engineering study versus a committee study, is that what
Yeah,
you're
something
saying?
like that. I don't know what the
Yeah.
term, but that might be it. Yeah, like that.
And realize this, if we set an impervious coverage limitation, I mean, let's say, my lot, I don't even know what the impervious coverage number is. Maybe it's 50%, okay? But if let's say we set it at 40 or 45%, all that means is that because of my 50%, I did this in terms of mitigation. At 45%, you're gonna do this. I mean, it's all,
Right.
it's just, it's correlated to that number and what you're gonna do or what you're gonna proactively do to remedy the situation is gonna be in line with whatever impervious coverage number you got.
Okay. All right. Well, are we in agreement that we'll do some touches to the current recommendation?
I'm happy to take a shot at
Okay.
revising this current recommendation.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I know where we're gonna end up with it saying we're gonna push the can down the road and
Yeah.
we're not making any recommendations with respect to changes to the drainage manual nor adoption of any direct impervious cover requirements, beyond the setbacks and the trees and the other things that are already there.
Well, the beauty of it doing it this way is that it becomes a city council thing to make the determination as to whether they want to go forward with something or not. On this particular issue, we think that we're not qualified, we think that, that maybe somebody else is, but we're not ready to do it. And if you want to do it, then another entity has to do it. And you already said that, you bring pros in and stuff like that, but someone's got to run that show, it seems to me. Someone's got to, define the problem or set of problems and then get the right talent involved in trying to solve it or talk about it or make recommendations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Okay,
All right, let's see what we can
I don't know whether we're making a motion to this or not.
No, I think you're just giving me
Okay.
instructions on
Yeah,
redrafting
okay.
my
Yeah.
report here.
We good? All right.
I'm good.
All right, so then,
You want me to leave in the recommendation that the subcommittee compensation that would have been paid to Duke be paid instead to Jerry Fleming, or is that,
well,
is
that
that too
was-
flippant?
I kind of liked your email better than I liked the actual draft recommendation. I like the email's pretty good. So, but, your draft recommendation is in last CRCR's meeting, it's in that packet, so. Anyway, if you would, and again, I'm happy to work with you on this. If you want,
I will take that up.
I wouldn't even mind having a beer along with it.
That might improve the drainage. I mean, might
Could be.
improve the work.
It could
Might
be.
improve the work.
Speaking of which, yeah, speaking of which. All right, so I think we've finished with that. I'm gonna move on to a regular agenda item number 5, discussion on CRC position regarding enforcement. I believe that the only thing that I have heard so far about enforcement that we all agree on is that we ought to be, whatever the allowable maximums are for enforcement fines, we recommend that. Whatever the maximum allowable is whenever someone is
I
breaking
remember
in.
us discussing enforcement fines and whatnot with respect to taking out heritage trees and that sort of thing. Did we talk about a broader enforcement issue that I don't recall, which could well be?
I think we talked about that across the board.
That would effectively be our recommendation, maximize
So
everything.
in effect, leave the numbers that are in there, but recommend that they be enforced to the max,
That's fair enough,
short of hanging and dismemberment.
all that, yeah. Now, I was gonna write something and have it here for us tonight to look at, which won't be more than a few sentences on it, but I'm just gonna take that back. We probably need to have one more meeting to clear up these 2 items. That'll be it. I don't see another reason to have a CRC meeting.
Okay.
Okay, can I report on something on the side?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Okay, so are we finished with, well, wait a minute, let's finish this discussion. Are you good with that, maximizing?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I frankly haven't studied it,
Okay.
but if we have numbers already and we're just saying we're not making a recommendation to change the numbers, we're
Yeah.
making a recommendation to the degree of enforcement, and that's just a recommendation, send that
That's
up
it.
to city
Yeah,
council.
all it
and
is.
Let them do it.
All right, and you're good with that?
yeah.
Okay, so no motion here, which I think it's just an agreement. Okay, very good. Dude, what's up?
Oh, hey,
Moving off of agenda item number 5.
yeah, I could just not say anything, but Alex and I have tried meeting with, I'll say a few P&Z members to try and kind of better see if we could build consensus with them on building height. And we kicked around a lot of ideas, and a lot of things have come up, and nothing's come to the surface that's totally resolved. I just want you, I'm saying that because I want you to know that's something that we tried doing.
Right.
And probably because of the election and so forth, the P&Z members are probably distracted. I'll put it that way.
The last P&Z meeting,
Mm-hmm.
most of our recommendations were considered. The lighting recommendations were considered and passed with some changes, small amendments.
The tree
The
ordinance.
tree ordinance passed, again with some small changes. The recommendation around critical root zone also passed. The driveway business about putting
Is this the circular driveway,
Circular
the
driveway,
driveway
yeah.
on two streets?
right, yeah. All of these things, it passed P and Z, it did not pass city council once again. All of what I suggested otherwise, the lighting, and the trees ordinance and the critical root zone stuff, it went city council and it was passed.
Pass means that they've instructed the attorneys to actually draft an ordinance.
That's right.
Incorporating the suggestions that we made.
Yeah, and then it comes into public
Comment?
public hearing. So good job, guys. I mean, we're moving along. Things are happening. Now, did I miss anything there, Ashley? I think that's all the stuff.
I think you covered all of them.
Yeah,
Kind of the holdup right now is arborist review on the tree stuff.
okay.
We're waiting on that so we can make sure before it starts.
That's right. We wanted to get an arborist, but it felt like it was gonna go. We're all right. So, we're still on building heights. I don't really think the P and Z meeting with regard to the building height subject went as well as I'd liked it to have gone. It did come up that you and Alex had that discussion with several of the members. And I almost hollered at these people that, they're saying, well, we haven't had enough time to think about this, but actually there had been a full month that it had transpired between September 4th and our October 2nd meeting, October 3rd meeting, that you had to consider it because the language hadn't changed at all over the course of a month. Still,
Well,
no vote was taken, or the only vote that was taken was a vote to table it. And we'll table it until the next P and Z meeting, and I think there might be some politics.
When would that be?
I think the next one is November 2nd, I believe. So, and what will be discussed there will be building heights and those things about what is allowed within the setbacks.
I have heard on the grapevine that there is some controversy out there about the building of a child's playscape within a setback that is causing somebody issues.
It's a little far off posted.
Yeah. You're right. Okay.
All right, we'll talk, I'll just ask what the heck that's all about and where it is after we close the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. All right, that's, we are off of all of our agenda items. I think that, if I got a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
Turn off